Hi, this is Debbie. Welcome back to Cheyenne Life, and I know that it's a little bit weird doing a video like this. I hope everyone can see everything, and I apologize that my hair is up, but I'm going to be cooking today. And what I'm going to be making is something that a lot of people might be familiar with because they usually get it at one of their favorite restaurants. But it's a take on what that restaurant is doing, but it isn't the exact same thing. I have been there a few times, and of course everyone likes this particular soup. And, well, we're gonna make it. So let me just go ahead and wash up this celery, and I'll be right back in the frame in a moment. And I apologize that I do not have a camera that moves. I am just using my cell phone to make these videos. And that is a Samsung, I think it's a Galaxy S8 Plus. So that is what we are dealing with, is what I have at hand, because I'm not going to go out and get any more fancy gadgets to show you all some videos. So what I'm doing right now, all you're going to need, and I have a recipe that I had written down a long time ago, is 4 tablespoons of butter, or a half stick. If you're making something for probably a family of 4, I tend to make double the recipe so that way I can have some extra to go into the fridge, and then we usually eat on it throughout the week. So that's what I'm going to do, is I'm going to double the recipe. So I'm going to be using an entire stick of butter and 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Again, this is the double recipe. A cup of finely diced onion, which I use a Ninja bullet for making the onion or cutting up the onion, cutting up the celery, and cutting up the carrots. There's going to be a half a cup of finely diced celery. Now that is iffy. I usually make a whole cup, and then actually 2 cups since I'm doubling the recipe. So it'll be, for me, 2 cups of finely diced onions, 2 cups of finely diced celery, 2 garlic cloves, which will be 4 for me, minced up, and then a half cup of all-purpose flour, and 2 quarts or half gallon of half and half, and 2 14-ounce cans of chicken broth. I tend to use the chicken broth that you get from Sam's Club Members Mark chicken broth, and I will actually use 2 of those entire containers, or most of those containers, and a teaspoon of dried thyme, a teaspoon of dried parsley flakes, a half teaspoon of ground nutmeg. It says optional, but honestly, you really want to use the nutmeg. It's what gives it the flavor. And then 2 cups of finely shredded carrots. I don't shred them. I actually mince it or finely dice it along with the celery and the onions. It's just as a quicker way to do it, and I've actually found shortcuts on how to do this recipe. Sometimes I even perfect my own recipes. A cup of coarsely chopped fresh spinach leaves, which I will actually have to go out and get these spinach. It's in the garden. So you will probably see multiple parts of this video, but hopefully it will give you a time frame of how long it takes to actually make this soup, which is not very long, about 30 to 45 minutes from start to finish. A cup of diced cooked chicken breast. I actually use more chicken breast than that, and what I do is I pick up from Sam's Club, if you have a Sam's Club in your area, one of these containers of rotisserie chicken, which they put their extra rotisserie chicken in. Usually if it's getting ready to either go out or whatever, they'll cut it up and put it in these containers out of their time frame. So I use that, and I just dice up maybe 2 of the breasts, the meat off of the breast, because they are bone in. I take the meat off and then just dice that up and throw it in the pot. And then 1 package of ready-to-use gnocchi. Now today I have some really fun gnocchi. Normally I get the regular type of gnocchi, which is just the potato gnocchi. But today I found at TJ Maxx some spinach potato gnocchi. I do not make my own gnocchi. I will probably be doing that in the future, since I've gotten the pasta maker. I'm going to start experimenting with more homemade pastas. So this brand I think is Siena Arte. Spinach potato gnocchi, and it's gluten-free, made in Italy from an old Italian family recipe. So we'll see how good it is. Usually gnocchi is pretty standard though. Doesn't matter if it's in a package like that or if you're making a homemade, because I have had homemade gnocchi. Just the homemade tends to be a little bit bigger. And I'm not really a huge fan of very doughy consistency things, such as like if you're making chicken and dumplings. The traditional way to make chicken and dumplings in the South is to use basically biscuit batter and you drop it into the pot. I don't like that. I think it's too doughy, so I tend to make the strip dumplings, or I will just make the traditional dumplings with just smaller amounts of dough. So anyway, I've got a carrot and some celery here. I'll probably get another stalk of celery. Usually one stalk for me almost equals up to a cup. Let me go ahead and get that washed, and I'll be doing that out of frame. And then sometimes I'll use another carrot. And I don't really throw away a whole lot of the celery, like when it has these little pieces like this. I will just take those pieces off, give them a toss, but then this central stalk I'll just trim off, and that will still be good for the rest of what I'm using it for. And I trim very lightly on the ends as well. I try to use as much of the vegetable as possible. And I already have my onion here sliced, which will be going into the bullet, and finally dicing right there. So it doesn't take a whole lot of vegetables to put in this gnocchi. It doesn't take a whole lot of the chicken breast, and it doesn't take a whole lot of the other ingredients. It's just a matter of putting it all together and then adding the half and half, and that's what makes the soup great. So I already have my water on to boil, which I will add some salt to my water, so that way this is the boiled water, or boiling the water for the gnocchi, and I'll add some salt to that. That actually helps it to keep it from sticking to the bottom of the pot. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my other pot on to heat up while I'm doing this. And then once it's heated up with the butter and the oil, the olive oil, then I will add the flour into it to make a roux with the diced vegetables. And I actually put my vegetables in all together with my garlic instead of the separate steps that it's going to call for. The instructions actually say melt the butter into the oil in a large saucepan over medium heat. Add the onion, celery, and garlic and cook, but it doesn't talk about the carrots until later. I do it all together because it gives it better flavor in the beginning. And everyone raves about this chicken and gnocchi recipe. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and put this as part one, and then we'll go into part two once I get the spinach, because I need to go ahead and get the spinach ready and washed, so it will go in towards the end of the recipe. So stay tuned for part two.